I have fought tooth and nail to not equate myself to my mother, but I really just saw myself in the viewfinder and I was like, well, I look just like my mom. What's up, Victoria? It's Victoria, and welcome to the Aftersass, the Critical Sass after show where I prove to you and myself that I don't need any new makeup because I already have beautiful makeup, and I bet you do too. So first and foremost, just kind of at the top, thank you all so much for the love on Critical Sass. It was a very big labor of love that I wasn't sure if it was going to work, and I wasn't sure if it was going to resonate with you, and I'm so glad that it did. Because if you ask Cam or Kelly Gooch or Linda over Glitter Fallout how I've been feeling about this coming out for the past week, they'll all be like, and Tom was really concerned about it, and I was. But if you are new to my channel, I would love for you to hit the subscribe button down below and hang out some more. If you are new to the Aftersass, or if you didn't watch Critical Sass is my new makeup release video, and you can watch that first. I tried something new. I tried a new format for Critical Sass. Think of it as like an anti-haul if you've never watched one, or like a new makeup release video where I just, I talk about new makeup releases. And then in this video, I've gone through my makeup collection, and what I've done is I've pulled out an equivalent product to something that I talked about in Critical Sass, and kind of, as I said, to prove to you and to me that we don't need to buy new makeup. First, I'm going to start with just something on my lips. This is just the Forget the Filler in the shade Nudie from Lawless. I was at Sephora yesterday, and I actually did get the opportunity to swatch and touch a lot of the things that I talked about in Critical Sass. And so after I filmed, and I got to touch everything, so I can kind of report back. I also just want to say, while I was at the mall, I did buy some stuff for review. I was at Ulta, I was at Sephora, and I bought a couple of things. Just I didn't buy anything in February for review, and so we're partway through March. I didn't spend a ton, but I bought some things that people have been asking me about. I didn't buy a ton for review, but I bought some things that I was interested in, some things that I feel like you guys were interested in. I did buy a thing specifically, well, about two things specifically to swatch against the thing I own, because I'd been getting a lot of questions about it and I had no point of reference for it. And I didn't think I would see them in real life, and then I did, so then I just bought them. So the first thing I'm going to put on my face is the Victoria Beckham Cell Rejuvenating Primer. In Critical Sass, I talked about the reformulation of this, and it was a bit dramatic. This is a completely different vibe from Critical Sass, so if you were concerned we were gonna have the same levels, that's not what we're doing in Critical Sass. This is much more chill for me, and also to make Critical Sass is a lot of work. I normally like for this to feel a little more chill, and some people prefer this over Critical Sass, so something for everyone. I was very mad that they seem to have reformulated this. People say you could still find it on the website, but the fact that you have to really search for it just reaffirms to me that this has been fully discontinued. I'm not going out of my way to buy the new one. I'm not going out of my way to buy a backup of this. I bought this in November, and these tend to last for a year, but I got the jumbo size of this the last time I bought it, so I'm expecting this to last me about a year and a half from when I got it at the end of November. So I still have quite a ways to go on this. And then whenever this runs out, I might try the new one, or I might try to find an alternative. I know a lot of people said the Vive primer is very similar to this, so maybe I'll try that, or maybe I'll buy the Vive one and this one, or the new version of this, to compare. My concern is that there's going to be a lot of shimmer particle in the new formulation. I do feel like this product gives a really nice plump and a nice glow, and that seems to be the same promise. And someone did send me an ingredients comparison. I think Andromeda did. And honestly, I was just I can't handle this right now. And not in a dramatic way. Obviously in Critical Sass, I talked about it very dramatically. But the thing is, things get discontinued, things get reformulated, and we choose to move on. I might buy it again because I've historically really liked a lot of what Victoria Beckham has put out, especially when it comes to the complexion products that have this Augustinus Bader ingredient in it, because I really like the concealer too. Ultimately, I'm fine, but also it does kind of free me to buy something new. I have been pretty dedicated to this as a primer for the last couple of years. I have purposefully panned some primers outside of this, but I came back to this, and I've decluttered primers. I'm about to declutter another primer. There's just, it is just my favorite primer, so I might go back to the new one. But here's my face with that applied. Super gorgeous, super plump. I'm concerned, I think, and I haven't watched any reviews on it, but my concern is that it's gonna have the amount of shine of Glow Lust, which is not gonna be beneficial to me. I occasionally use Glow Lust as a primer, and I think it works really well, but that's just not a consistent look I'm going for. I'm mostly going for healthy looking skin. So yeah, I think I will have to try it, because just the curiosity would kill the cat otherwise. But I for right now, I'm like, okay, like I'm fine. I'm fine. And I still have a long time with this, so I'm not fearing the end quite yet. Next product I'm going to apply today is the concealer. So I talked about a lot of stuff from the Isamaya core line, but I kind of like talked about a lot briefly, whereas like whenever I was talking about singular items, I spent like a long time on a single item. She released I don't know even what they're calling it, but it was like listed as a color corrector. And then the green and purple thing were listed as a skin tint. I don't know. It's very confusing. Something leads me to believe that after watching Hannah Louise Poston's video doing like a little bit of a review on the Isamaya stuff, I'm not sure if Sephora made that error or like whoever was in charge of the marketing and the like the technical wording of things whenever they made it to Sephora had it wrong. Like, I'm not really sure who to point at, but it seemed like Hannah had some confusion whenever she was picking between the primers. And then of course, you know, I caught that like light undertone with dark undertone. So I'm not really sure if the thing that I have on the screen, whatever this is actually called, is supposed to be viewed as a concealer or a color corrector. I got a little ahead of myself. Color corrector. Okay. So I'm going to color correct today. I don't always color correct. I mostly save color correcting for like if I'm going out at night and it's an out at night where I'm going to wear a lot of makeup and I really want my skin to look gorgeous. But color correcting to me, for some reason, I don't think it actually does make my makeup look heavier or like I'm wearing a lot more, but like for some reason I feel that way, and maybe it is just like texturally, tactilely, I feel like I'm wearing a lot more makeup whenever I have a color corrector on. But I'm going to color correct two different ways. So as I was saying, this is still kind of reflecting back to Isamaya. Isamaya released the skin tint thing and then also the color correcting thing, and then so like basically my concealer up until my foundation product are all kind of in reference to all of the Isamaya things. So here's what I think of when I think of a color corrector. Something that's a little more precise. Now you might not want green, you might want a different color to counteract a different color on your skin. I have quite a bit of redness on my face. Well, it's actually kind of evened out quite a bit since I started using the redness reform from Prequel. I will link that down below just in case you might be curious about it. I bought it, they didn't send it to me in PR. My skin has reacted to it quite well. I'm using another kind of like similar product. I don't think it's as effective, but the redness reform has really gotten my skin together. Like, if you have been with me for some time, you'll know that formerly the really high parts of my cheek would have a lot of redness to them, and that has kind of dissipated. But sometimes my neck gets red from shaving and irritation, but I'm also kind of getting that under control. I got a red light therapy mask for my neck. Well, I got one for my face. I'm trying it out, but the brand was like, if you want to try more after you give that a test, let us know. And I think I would ask for the one for the neck and the décolleté because I'm wondering if that would help, especially with like discoloration. But I'm wondering if just like consistent use of that would also help in some kind of fashion. Anyway, all that being said, let's put on some color corrector. I don't have a ton, and this is like my thing with color correcting. I don't like to put it all over my face because I feel right now my redness is more contained to specific areas that are like kind of flaring up. And I think a lot of other people, like they're either trying to color correct their under eyes or something very specific. Maybe you might be color correcting stubble. So like there's a bunch of different ways to use it. And I still think that this might be the best way. Maybe if you were like covering a beard area with color corrector, like if you were a drag performer or if you are transitioning and like your hair is still very thick and you're trying to cover it up, maybe you would want something like a primer or something. But I have found that I look the least green after everything whenever I do direct color corrector. So I actually just am gonna apply a little bit here. I have a little bit of redness there. This like ingrown hair that won't go away. I have a little bit there. So I'm using it more like a spot concealer today as opposed to like an all over face product. But some people's whole face might be red, so that also could be maybe more effective. I watched Hannah's video on the Isamaya stuff this morning as I film, and it doesn't seem to be a super effective color corrector. Like it does a little bit. Also, I will link her video down below in case any of you are like not already following Hannah and wanted some more information about the Isamaya products. You can check that out. So color corrector is also supposed to like technically like neutralize things, and then you would put something on top of it. So it's like it takes the green, puts it over the red, and makes it kind of like a neutral gray color is what it should do. Especially like if you're trying to like cover everything. Do you know what I mean? Anyway, it looked like it left a green cast on her, and that's kind of how she reported it. Also, the packaging was really weird on that nozzle thing. Like even though I knew that's what it was, watching Hannah use it was like, this product just like simply doesn't make sense. It's simply weird for the sake of being weird. Now, the one thing about Isamaya's brand that me and Hannah disagree on is that I actually really like her original eyeshadow palette, and Hannah did not get along with that. All that being said, let's just continue. So I'm also going to color correct my eyebrows with a little bit of orange color corrector, which is in this palette from Decorte. Now, this is still technically something I consider to be in testing. Like, I haven't like brought it into my permanent collection at this time, but it's one of the few things I have that works as a color corrector. And I did just shave my eyebrows, but they're not really agitated and I really don't have a lot of stubble. I get a better shave, unfortunately, if I like wait a few days between shaving my eyebrows, which is really annoying because I would really like them to just be gone. But I'm also not sure if I would ever get to the point where I would like want to laser them off. It's like I haven't had eyebrows for the last 5 years. I'm like fairly committed to the idea of not having eyebrows ever again. You know, there's just like something inside of me that sometimes feels like, oh, but what if? But also microblading. There's so many things I could do to bring my eyebrows back if I really wanted to. I don't know. Sometimes I wonder and I think about myself as like an elderly person, if I have the luck to become an elderly person, like what I will look like aesthetically as an elderly person. I don't think too hard on it, but like, will I want eyebrows as an elderly person? But like, also elderly me will have made all the decisions up until that point too. So like, I think at that point, if I just like lasered off my eyebrows, which I don't even know if anyone would do that. Like, I like genuinely, like, I don't know if they would. It might be too close to my eyes. Like, I don't know. I could wax them off, but then you have to grow them back. But you know, eventually they do stop kind of regrowing, but there will always be some regrowth. This is a lot. Back to this. This is the Surratt Dewdrop Concealer. I have the shade 2. This was sent to me in PR. As you may or may not know, I've been trying to pan this, and I'm very close. This was a sponge tip applicator. I ripped off the sponge tip. I've been wearing this as my foundation product most of the time. I'm going to be only applying it as a concealer today. So I'll just be putting it under the eyes, and I might also cover my brows again with it. What I have learned since I've taken the sponge tip off of the Surratt Dewdrop Concealer, the sponge tip really controls how much you're applying, and a little of this goes such a long way, which is why I was like taking such a long time to power through it. Even as a foundation, I like take out just like the littlest bit of it and it like covers my whole face, and I often have leftover, but because it's like a twist up concealer and there's nothing stopping it, like I am wasting a little bit of product. If you're a project painter, you might know that sometimes you get to the point with a product where you're like, I don't really care about waste, or you get to the end of a lip gloss and you're like, I don't know if I care about this enough to pull off the stopper. That's kind of how I'm feeling about this. I just want it to be gone. Like, I really can't wait for the last click, but it's a concealer and it works and I like it. I think the thing about the Isamaya stuff that bothers me with the color correction stuff, both the concealer and the skin tint thing, or whatever we're calling it, it's actually really strange. I think like Isamaya's brand right now is being presented as like this weird futuristic thing, which is kind of like what the brand has always kind of pitched itself as, but like in its iteration at Sephora, it's the least believable. Like, I think wanting to have clean skin and intense other things going on your face is like a really cool aesthetic choice. And I think if they were leaning into that, that'd be great. But like the products, based on what I can see, is like just kind of like clean girl makeup being presented as edgy, which is like, what? She didn't release any eye products. I think like the edgiest thing that the brand has is the Lip Lacq, which is just glittery lip gloss. It has a plumper agent in it, and I do like that product, and we'll talk about that later. But it is just like strange because like the look that Hannah got using almost exclusively Isamaya products was such a simple look, but it also like, it wasn't because Hannah picked simple products from the brand. It's just that there's no intense products, because if you remember like the first line that Isamaya released, that rubber lash was supposed to make eyelashes look crazy. You're supposed to like layer it up and it was supposed to be this really thick look. The mascara she has now is like a brown mascara. Well, I don't know if it comes in different colors, but like a mascara that just kind of like paints the lashes. So something that like Glossier has already. Like, I feel like the brand, I mean, I always feel like the brand is confused, but like I really feel like it's like Sephora iteration is so confused. Skin tint. I'm going to be using the skin tint from Lisa Eldridge. It's one of my favorite products. It's not my favorite complexion product, but it is my favorite skin tint I've ever used. And I think that's because there's a lot of coverage for it being a skin tint. And I do think it looks more like, well, I don't think it looks like a foundation on the skin, I guess, per se. It can have the coverage of a foundation. So it kind of gives you like the lightweight feel of a skin tint, but with like the coverage of something a lot more, like a light medium foundation. And like, I don't know, I think skin tints should be skin colored. I really do think that the brand really had intentions of making a true concealer with that concealer looking product, except like they didn't have the money to make enough shades. So like, I think they just like rebranded it as a color corrector, because like, as I said in Critical Sass, none of them look like color correctors. The only thing that she really released that looked like color correctors are the skin tints. But as I said, like the fall with the skin tints is skin tint color correcting things is that it's like, they don't seem to do it very well. It's all very confusing. The brand's really confusing. I know that the fair shade of the concealer, based on like reviews that I've read, Hannah interacting, well, Hannah didn't buy it because she also read that it looked incredibly dark. It looks dark. And also apparently like none of the images that the brand has provided seems to capture the colors. Other, like the lip lacks look like how I've seen them on myself, and other people seem to be photographed correctly. But like the blushes, if you watch Hannah's video, the blush that she like bought and the blush that she has in her hands, they're supposedly the same thing, but they look completely different. And then there's a shade I think called Fig that someone commented on Critical Sass and said it's actually peach colored, but it looks purple. In like, it's so confusing. It's so confusing. The brand is so confused. I know a lot of people have been like weary of the brand Isamaya, whether it's because of the owner Isamaya or like other reasons, but like this weird showing that's happening at Sephora is just very strange to me. None of the Sephoras in the Pittsburgh area have Isamaya, so I did not have the opportunity to interact with any of those products whenever I was at Sephora. But a product I did get to interact with at Sephora, and I talked about in Critical Sass, because if you happen to live in the Pittsburgh area, South Hills Village Mall now has a Westman Atelier display. So I was able to interact with the bronzing drops because they had them out. They were like on the front display, but if you were to, to give very specific directions to anyone who'd be in the South Hills Village Mall, if you walk into the Sephora, it's like an end cap right on the right. So it's like Sephora collection, and it's like the first end cap facing the front. At least that's where it was whenever I went. And it's like a real display. It's not like beauty, like New Discovery Beauty. It's like an actual display with like specific places for the products. Hopefully that helps someone who watches my channel. I know I have a lot of people from Pittsburgh specifically who watch me. So if I could provide that information to anyone, happy to. I know that Ross Park has it, but I don't know about Walnut Street. Also, there's a new Sephora coming to Pittsburgh. It's going in all the stuff that's happening in the Strip District is so awful. In Critical Sass, I kind of jokingly said whenever I was talking about the bronzing drops that I was like, this Trixie Cosmetics bronzer has been really impressing me, and it has. So I'm just going to use that. Like, I have no need for a bronzer drop. I always feel, it doesn't matter who releases it, Westman Atelier, Jones Road, I always feel as though they're like hard for people to use. Do I mix them in with my foundation? Do I mix them in with my concealer? What am I doing? They seem really hard to use. I did swatch one, and it seems like it could be really easy to go overboard with it. Not that it's like highly pigmented, but like a lot of it came out whenever I did it. Blended it out on my arm. It looked a little bit orange, but like the little drop I put like went all the way down my arm, and I was just like, this seems like something really hard to control. I don't know. Maybe if I used my fingers to apply my makeup, it would make a little more sense. But I guess in theory, I did apply the bronzing drop with my finger and then blended it out, and it still went really far. Which is not my favorite thing. I really, really love a cream format of a lot of things, and cream bronzer works great. Trixie Cosmetics isn't much more affordable than Westman Atelier. You might, well, also, I don't really care for the squeezy packaging of the skin tints and the liquid highlighters, and same with the liquid bronzer. Like, I don't really care for that packaging. Like, it's aesthetically pleasing to look at. In practice, I think it's like a really weird thing to interact with. I would much rather use this. There was something else I was going to say about Westman Atelier. Oh, it wasn't about Westman Atelier at all. I didn't talk about this in Critical Sass, but I did swatch the Ilia eyeshadows. I was very impressed with them. There's this one color. It's like this sparkly blue. And I almost bought it yesterday. I didn't, but I almost did. It was like something that was like the other thing I chose from Sephora, which I'll talk about in probably the next video. We'll do like a let's play with makeup, bring some other things out of the testing drawer, you know, and we'll make a full face. The thing that I bought was like more expensive than I wanted it to be, but again, we'll talk about it then. But those eyeshadow sticks really were pretty, but like specifically that blue one, if any of my friends got them in PR and don't want the blue one, and you want to do a friend a favor, you can send it to me. You don't have to, but you could. All right, in Critical Sass, I talked about the new Haus Labs Bio Radiant Luminescence highlighter sticks. In Critical Sass, I also pulled out the Chanel Balm Essentiel, and I feel like they're very similar products, so I'm just going to use the Balm Essentiel today. You can apply this with your finger. You can apply it. I like to apply it with a brush because whenever it has a balmy finish, I think having a more dispersed balmy look with a lighter touch, because I feel like brushes can't pick up a lot of the balm, but sometimes my finger does. I feel like it applies just much prettier. I actually don't use this on my channel very often. This is something I like to put on for real life because I feel like it's such like a skincare-y glow. It's like not doing too much, and like when it wears off, you still have a little bit of a sheen there, but nothing too strong. So if you're really doing like a skin looking thing, this is really good for that. I'm assuming that the clear one from Haus Labs would do what this does. This has like a little bit of shimmer in it. And I think that the opalescent options is cool. And I feel like Haus Labs offers something that I feel like the Balm Essentiel specifically can't provide, in like the fun shiftiness that will still look pretty organic on the skin, despite the fact that it's like shifting blue or red or something like that. Like, I think there is fun to that, like having a product that wears like this, but like has a little more fun. They didn't have those at the Sephora that I was at. And then I was like, I don't know if these are launched. I've seen influencers use them, but I hadn't heard a normal person, like not normal person, but like heard just like a makeup lover that had them yet, but I have seen influencers with them. Oh, that's what I was doing. I got distracted. I didn't pull out a product I wanted to talk about. Back to Isamaya. She released the contour stick. Oh my God. What do you think happened here? Do you see that? Can you see how dirty it is? Not the product. It must be something that it's within there. Isamaya released the line of contour sticks that aren't contour sticks. I really think she should have branded them just as eyeshadow sticks, and they were just kind of like neutrally or like very wearable colors eyeshadow sticks, because I don't think they make sense as contours. Someone did point out to me, and I did not talk about it in Critical Sass, because the Critical Sass was more about like how those makeup products would work in relationship to my collection, whereas like I feel like normal Critical Sass is like more broader. But someone did point out that the deepest contour in the line of the Isamaya sticks is just like straight black, which didn't Euphoria just make a straight black? You know what I mean? Like, it's, I don't know. It could be useful, and like maybe someone with a deeper complexion could report back. Maybe that's something that they would use or mix with something and find useful. But like I said, I think if she just had labeled them as eyeshadows and then people like also use them as contours, like you were like, they're an eyeshadow stick, but they also work as contours, and the shades we released like could work well for contour. But like, there's a lot of shades, which I don't think is necessarily bad in a contour release, but like also like, I've just never seen that many, but also they didn't seem that diverse. It was like there were 3 light ones and there was like different undertones. It's just like, I don't know. It was just a confusing thing released to me. But I have this contour stick from Victoria Beckham in the shade Travertine, which I very rarely use, and I think is going to blend in right into the bronzer. And I'm only going to just do right here. I didn't put any of my usual contour down from Ritual Defeat. But my complaint about this, like my only complaint about this, and I guess I didn't really say this in the video because Isamaya was like a full brand takedown as opposed to like a singular product takedown. But if I was just talking about the contour sticks, I probably, like as the whole thing for Isamaya's line, I think like I would have talked about how I like a contour stick, and I do, right? Like when I got this and when I reviewed this and whenever I talked about it in my contour video, the thing I loved about it is it reminded me of this product I had from Burberry. The main problem I have with this is the color of it. Like it's a bronzer shade. Like I don't think that it looks cooler than my bronzer does. Do you know what I mean? Like, I don't think it like added more definition than the bronzer did. So this is more like a stick bronzer, but it's a very thin stick bronzer. So it's, you know what I mean? Like, this isn't a perfect product either. I still really love this product. I use it whenever I do warmer toned looks. I will use this as opposed to using the one from Ritual Defeat that I really love. So like a contour stick I can get into, I really wish that there was like shades in there that I felt like would be worth my time. So that's that. I'm going to powder my face, and then we're going to use powder products to finish it off. I will link what I used down below, but we're just going to jump cut right to the next thing. In Critical Sass, I talked about a couple different blush releases. Obviously, the one from Isamaya was in the conversation, but I didn't really harp on that. There were two brands I harped on a little bit more. One being the Saie blushes, which are like these baked blushes that reminded me of Laura Geller, and like a lot of things, I don't know, baked blushes are kind of like having a moment. And then also the powder blushes from Tower 28. And I didn't swatch anything from Saie when I was at Sephora, but I did see them and I took a picture of it. So I'll post the picture like right here. This is what one of the Saie blushes being out on display already looks like. It's just like completely white. And I'm fairly certain that this shade that I have a picture of right here is a fair lavender shade, but the brand wasn't lying whenever they said on the website that this is a product that you want to keep in a dark place. And also, why isn't it just in packaging that would fully cover that? Of course, that wouldn't solve the Sephora of it all. This is like something one of my commenters said, so I'm like paraphrasing what they said as well. This wouldn't solve the Sephora of it all, but it would solve you as a personal consumer if the product didn't have like a clear top to it. It would be in darkness most of the time. So yeah, I don't know. What a weird flaw. And then I also, when I was at Sephora, swatched the Tower 28 blushes, and my fear about that earthy rosy shade looking orange on me kind of came true. It was like prettier, and I think it was a little more muted than I was expecting, but I think if I put it on my cheek, I wouldn't have been super thrilled with it anyway. So not that I think it's a catfish of a color, but I just like, people keep throwing like the word rosy into things that aren't rosy. Like maybe there is in a world, a rosy orangey color, which is like, I think what this kind of color is, like this brown orangey rosy color, which I think would work better as like a bronzer color for me. I don't know. I just feel like sometimes we really loosely use the term rosy. They also loosely use the word tan. Tan can mean a number of different things. I also swatched the Armani bronzers that came out forever ago. They are so sparkly. I was like, what is happening here? I went to the mall with my friend who was getting her hair done at the mall. And so I was just kind of like walking around by myself so I was just like in Sephora swatching. I was really taking my time at Sephora whenever I was there. So I was swatching a lot. I was really taking it all in. I was really just kind of like swatching. I also swatched the Boost thing from Makeup Forever. I finally got to like see it in person, and it's uglier in person than I was expecting. And the whole bottle's squeezy, so you didn't even need the dropper at the end. It could have just been a squeezy bottle. That was important to me. But I did notice a trend that I don't think I've noticed outside. I don't know. Like sometimes I'm not really like a trend searcher in makeup. I'm like normally a trend reactor, but I like didn't really clock this trend. And I know that a lot of sparkly lip products have been coming out, but like iridescent lips seem to be in. Like Sephora collection had like a little line of like iridescent lip balms. Makeup Forever had some iridescent lip balms, a lot of iridescent blue, and then of course the Fenty gloss sticks. Very iridescent. That amethyst color is really pretty. And I almost bought that when I was there. And I was like, I haven't bought a Fenty product in so long because the brand has really bored me. There's so much product from Fenty, and yet not a single thing ever strikes my fancy from Fenty. I feel like I really haven't stopped at the Fenty counter since I worked at Sephora. Like that's how little I've paid attention to what's happening at Fenty. Anyway, all of that being said, I did forget to swatch the 9 p.m. palettes from Charlotte Tilbury. Also, they had them. I caught them out of the corner of my eye, and then I didn't like go over to them. I don't know. But it's fine. I didn't really want to buy an eyeshadow palette anyway. Also, I didn't talk about like really any eyeshadows in Critical Sass. Not that that's my bread and butter. Anyway, we're on blush. So we talked about blushes. The weird thing that happened to me when I swatched the Tower 28 blushes, and of course I was swatching with my finger and I wasn't applying them to my face. So like take this with a grain of salt, but they like kind of pilled when I swatched them. And I was like confused. That was the first thing I swatched at Sephora. So I didn't have anything on my arm yet. So I don't know what happened. I was like, I don't know what happened. The only thing it might have been, I did use like MAC makeup remover wipe before I went into Sephora from like swatching at the MAC counter. So maybe it was like the remnant of the MAC thing, but it was like so strange. Like I like never had a blush pill on me and nothing else that I swatched on my arm after that pill. So I don't know. Again, take that with a grain of salt. I just wanted to report that. So if you hear that from other sources, let me know if that's a thing that's happening to other people. But if you're applying it with a brush, I can't see it being like a big, like, I don't know that would matter. Anyway, I don't really care for baked blushes, so I don't have a ton of baked blushes, but I do have some colorful blushes that I don't pay a lot of attention to. And right now in my everyday makeup drawer, I have a couple blushes from Surat. So I have Barba Papa and I also have Peau de Pêche. My look is on the warmer side. The lip is going to be cool toned. I haven't used Peau de Pêche in a while, and I do, not that like a bright pink isn't colorful, but I do feel like spring is more like about the orangey to me, even though like I don't know. There's something about Barba Papa that reads more like fall to me for some reason. And I think it because it it kind of gives me more of like a winter cheek, like that cool toned blue sheeny thing. I think makes it look like I'd been out in the cold. Whereas like Peau de Peche is obviously going to warm up my face. The Trixie bronzer is a little bit warmer than my usual bronzer, but still looks really good. So I just figured that this would look a little bit better. Also, I think Barba Papa is like more of an intense color on me than Peau de Peche is. Like I feel like that looks like a little more natural. Not that I really care that much about looking quote unquote natural. For eyes today, I'm kind of like going back to the contour sticks from Isamaya because I didn't talk about any eyeshadow products and I do want to put on eyeshadow today. So I'm just going to use my Victoria Beckham what do they call it? The eyewears. I'm just gonna put them on my eyelids and just like leave a matte look. So I'm just gonna put these on really quick. Kind of going back to like the Ilia shadow sticks. I know that they're getting reviewed pretty well, so I'm considering it. As far as like eyeshadow sticks go, and not that I need to like have a ton of anything, I really only have these two. I have other single shadows, obviously. I don't know. There's something about that blue that's calling to me. I am feeling more into color these days, obviously. And I think I'm going to do a video on like how to, quote unquote, how to wear color. If that makes sense. How to wear color for people who are afraid of color. I wouldn't say that I'm like afraid of color per se. It's just like kind of been a thing I'm falling away from. But I also have been thinking a lot and doing a lot of like reflecting on, I had already been thinking about this, but Matt Bernstein, who you might know on Instagram, it's like Matt IVX. I'm not sure where the letters fall after the Matt. He posts those infographics. He did a podcast episode, his podcast, A Bit Fruity, about like aesthetics in the relationship to like political beliefs and like political ideologies. And like, and obviously not everyone who has like the quote unquote clean girl aesthetic is like some kind of like alt-right person. I don't believe that. I think that I was already kind of shifting more into color, and then like I watched that video and I like was thinking about it. Anyway, I will also link Matt's video down there. If you're not already listening to A Bit Fruity, I don't know what you're doing. Shout out to the pod. Shout out to Matt. But yeah, it's like something I've been thinking a lot about. And then I'm going to use Pecan, and I'm just going to put that a little bit on the outside here. I think there was a little bit of shimmer on this brush. My brushes need to be cleaned. And you know, what's so funny is when I did not like blindly reach for this one, but when I reached for this one, I was like, that might have shimmer on it. I didn't even check. I just like threw it on my eye. I didn't talk about eyeliner or mascara in Critical Sass, so I'm going to quickly apply those. I thought I was going to apply lip liner, and I did pick one out to kind of compare back to the Isamaya lip liners, which in Hannah's video, she did shout out as like one of her favorite products. I think I can go without it. And also like, I don't know that this lip is going to go, but I pulled this out because it is a product from Isamaya, and it is a product that they still have in their line. The packaging has changed. I wonder if you get more product in it. I'm like not sure. The price didn't change at all, but just like visually, the packaging looks a little like longer and slimmer. So it might be the same amount of product, but like just like in different packaging. But this is the Lip Lacq from Isamaya in the shade Metal. And as you can see, if you happen to be new here, I've used almost all of it. I really love this product. And whenever they were discontinuing all of the stuff from the line before the jump to the Sephora core line, they did like a sale. So I did buy a backup of this because I really like this. More so for like the color and the shimmeriness of it than the formula. I mean, it's a bit much for a lip after like how simple everything else on my face has turned out. But it's just such a beautiful lip product. The only downside of it, I would say, is that like it does need a little bit babied. Like if you talk a lot with it on, you'll get like the white ring. But like it's just such a cool thing, and like this color is really cool. I mean, all the colors look pretty cool. I would love to see the other ones in person because I do think in my head I'm like I want all of them, but I don't think I really do want all of them. But I do think I want Black Veil, and I might want the like dark black blue one as well. I'm gonna hit the face with a little bit of Fix Plus. I do want you to know I did think about this makeup look before putting this top on, and I really thought I was going to pick Barba Papa and go more cool tone, but then the warmth really spoke to me in such a way, and now I feel like I'm clashing with my top. which is fine. It like doesn't really matter, but like I just want you to know that there was like thought put in, and then I still did the opposite of what I thought I was gonna do. I don't know, sometimes you do your makeup and like a certain colorway calls to you while you're amidst doing it, and you get like sidetracked and go a different way. But this is the full face of makeup that I didn't have to buy any of the new makeup releases to do. Yeah, it would have been fun to buy the new makeup products and try them. Sure, it would have been like fun to do that, but like also saving a couple $100s to do this face of makeup was better. Oftentimes when you're buying new makeup, it's a lateral move. The only time like you need to buy something that you might already have in your collection is like if the product has stopped working for you in some fashion. Anyway, food for thought. And yeah, that's going to wrap up the video. Thank you so much for watching. If you happen to be new to my channel, thank you so much for watching all the way to the end. I'd love for you to stick around and hit the subscribe button down below. This is a lot of what I like to do on my channel with like the work I do in Critical Sass and the After Sass. What I'm trying to do is to show you and myself that we don't need the new makeup items. I do sometimes buy things to review, and I also do sometimes get PR. I try to be as honest as I can about PR whenever I do have it. When I'm reviewing it, I always tell you if it's PR, whether I say it out loud or in the description box. I will list it in case I have forgotten to say it in the video. If you're looking for that kind of content from someone, I would love for you to stick around. I'm on Patreon and I have channel memberships over there. I do one additional video every month. It doesn't matter what level you join at, everyone gets the same video. It's kind of like give what you want if you want to give, but if you don't, no worries. I'm just happy that you are here. I will have some links in the pinned comment down below. Check those out if you want to support some great causes. And that's going to wrap up the video. Thank you so much for watching. Remember to follow your hope and you'll find me. And I'll see you in a video very soon. Go forth. Tits out.